Okay, folks, I want to welcome you to another episode of The Prophet. I want to get back into something else from Revelations with you today. This is Revelations chapter 9 about the locust. And I hope to give you an understanding of what this is about, because apparently others don't have it right. All right, now I'm going to start with chapter 8, verse 13. And I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to go back and explain to you what this is all about. All right, chapter 13. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven with a loud voice. Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound. See, four angels had already sounded, and then God gave a warning that the other three plagues, he says, woe, woe, woe. And that word woe basically means watch out, because some bad things are coming. So I'm going to get on here now, and I'm going to read you from chapter 9 of Revelations about the locusts. Okay, now keep in mind, four of the trumpets have already sounded. People have been going through the tribulation, and here we go. Now, and the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven to earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue his name is Apollyon. Okay, now I'm going to break this down to you. I hope that you heard that you were trying to figure out in your mind what it was that was being described. Because now I'm going to show you. First off, the fifth angel sounds. A star falls from heaven to the earth, and it's given to the key and opens a bottomless pit. And there arises smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air are darkened by reason of the smoke. Now, here we go. And there came out locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of earth have power. Okay, so now we got all this smoke. The sun and the air are dark from the smoke, and out comes these locusts. It was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So apparently these aren't regular locusts, as you would think a locust, the grasshopper type of creatures, because they're not going to hurt the grass or trees or any green thing. And it also won't hurt. Now, this is some good news to you if you're born again, a good believer. It says that the other thing that they won't hurt is those men that have the seal of God in their foreheads. The only thing that they're going to be hurting, it says, only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So if you're one of God's children, this woe isn't going to bother you like it bothers the rest of humanity. Okay? And to them, it was given that they should not kill them, but they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. Now, I was stung by a scorpion in my thumb. And for me, it wasn't as bad as for other people I've known and seen and heard of, because I immediately made like a tourniquet here and began to suck the poison out. I ran next door, washed it a couple of times, and it wasn't all that bad. Because normally what happens is people get a very painful sting. Mine was more or less like a minor bee sting, probably because I was getting the poison out right away. But most people that get it, they get a taste in their tongue afterwards. That's because of the chemicals that have been put into their body. And they get a numbness in the area, especially in their lower extremities. But now, I was with a guy in Central America who was stung by a scorpion, and the ones there are much worse. He just screamed and screamed and screamed in pain. I kept wanting to slap him because we couldn't get him to talk. We couldn't get him to say what had happened. All he did was hold his hand like this and show us. And initially all there was looked like a little pinprick in the palm of his hand. Minutes later, it was like a mosquito bite with a pinprick, and he's still screaming. We get him to his house, and he was still screaming. And like I said, we wanted to slap him to get him to quiet down. And he couldn't speak as far as what had happened. Fortunately, he lived right down the street from the hospital. By the time the ambulance got there, which was only maybe 5 minutes, he was still screaming, and his hand was now extremely swollen. When I spoke to him later, he said, as others have said, that what it felt like was someone had taken a red-hot nail and driven it into his hand. And that the pain just stayed there. Scorpion stings can be very painful. I've known of one guy had to spend 30 days in the hospital because he got stung in the shoulder 3 times by one. Okay, so it's not something that you want to get stung by. It says, and in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Why are they going to seek death and want to die? Because of the torment of these stings that are like stings of scorpions. But remember now, if you're one of the sealed of God, that's for another video, you're not going to have to worry about it. Okay, now, let me explain to you what these locusts are. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. And their heads, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. I'm going to tell you what's being described here for the rest of this. Is a larvae of an insect, and this insect is commonly known, this larvae is commonly known as helltermites. Helltermites. Because boy, they're kind of scary looking, and their description is going to be given here, so I won't go much into that. Most of them are about the size of my little finger. They're very aggressive. They have huge pinchers on them, even the bait handlers, because they're some of the best fishing bait I've ever used. If you're up around Harper's Ferry, places in Pennsylvania, you'll find people that sell it. It's a little expensive, but it is such a good bait. The fish just love it because it's hard for them to get them. And the reason it's hard for them to get them, the bait handlers tell me they only come out at night during a thunderstorm. Now keep in mind, it said that the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke. And that's when these things come out. Just like these helltermites. The actual name of them is helltermite with a G. You can look up on the internet. It's going to be hard to find any really good pictures of them that'll do it justice as to when you see them in real. But it says they were like horses prepared unto battle. That's because these things are somewhat heavily armored. They shape something, or they're their skin, basically, their exoskeleton, is much like that of a shrimp, in that it's in sections. And they're very flexible. They kind of have the shape of a scorpion without the legs, because they have legs more like a centipede would. All right, it says, and on their head, where's it were crowns like gold. If you look at one of these helltermites in the sun, you'll see the whole back half of their head glistens like gold. It's like a metal flake, a heavy metal flake on there. They definitely shine like gold. And it says, and their faces, where's the faces of men? This insect is unusual compared to a lot of insects in that it can actually move its head around. It has 2 eyes. It has big jaws, but its head is very flexible, and it can move it from side to side, and has the 2 eyes like a man. And it's pretty much like a person's face. Okay, it says, in their hair was as the hair of women, and in their teeth were as the teeth of lions. These things do have hair. If you look at the back of their tail, which, like I say, is shaped something like a scorpion's tail, but I've never seen one with an actual stinger on it yet. But they actually have little black hairs on them. So they have hair like women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. These things have pincers on them. And relative to other insects, creatures, I don't know if there's a one that pound for pound has such big, powerful pincers on the front of its face. So that's where it has like the teeth of lion. In verse 9, and they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron, and the sounds of their wings was the sound of chariots and many horses running to battle. Like I said, these things are almost like they're armor plated. Their exoskeleton is similar to that of a shrimp, and that it can bend and fold, but it is much thicker and heavier. You can put a hook through the main one on its back and catch a whole bunch of fish and still keep reusing that thing. And the fish go nuts over it, because like I said, it's hard for them to get them. They only come out at night when it's thundering and lightning. Okay, now, and it says, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of the chariots of many horses running to battle. Now this larvae, when it grows up, grows into a large insect that doesn't look like the larvae itself, just like other insects, but I've never seen or heard them fly. I have seen them on the internet, but I've been told by the bait handlers that when they do come out, and they tend to come out in mass, that when they do fly, you can really hear them flying, that they're very loud when they're flying. Okay, and it says, and they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. So for 5 months, people are going to be getting stung by this. Unless you have the seal of God, people are going to want to die because of the torment of these things. And let me tell you, God has shown me these things will be everywhere. And they're very aggressive anyway. I mean, they're extremely aggressive. The bait handlers won't even handle them. What they do is they'll put a little rag into the bucket, and immediately these things scramble all over that rag, and then they quickly take it, shake it off into something else to dump it into a container for you. They don't want to handle them, and neither do I, although it's a great fishing bait. When I handle them with a pair of channel locks. And the thing about them too, if you think you're going to grab them by the back and you'll be safe, oh no, because they will bend over totally backwards and grab you with that pincher. Okay, now it says, and they had an angel over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue his name is Apollyon, which means destroyer. Let me tell you, folks, that's what's coming. These things are a true insect. It's not what many other people think. I hope some of you have seen them. I'm sure some of you have. If not, like I said, you can look them up on the internet. although those pictures don't do it justice. They're a terribly awesome little insect. But for some reason, God's going to give them stings in their tails. Anyway, I just want to encourage you to read the Word. I want to thank you for watching this video, and please check out my other videos. I'm going to be bringing you a bunch more things, especially things that are coming in the future. Once again, you need to be sealed. And if I could give you just a very short definition of those who are sealed, is those who have heard and believed. And I don't mean just heard John 3:16, okay? They've heard the entire Word of God, and they believe it. I hope you'll hear it, and that you'll believe it too. Remember, God says that blessed is the man who reads or who hears the word of this book of prophecy, meaning the Bible. So if you want to be blessed, read or hear that word. You can get it on the internet, you can buy it on tapes, or you can read the book. And we'll get back into that too some other time. I'm totally welcoming you to put comments at the bottom. If you have any questions, if you dispute what I've just said here, I'm open to criticism, comments, and just discussion. Okay? All you Christians, may God be with you. And those who aren't Christians yet, may God soon be with you. Peace.